I'm Heidi Elliott, Marketing Communications Director with Mauser Electronics. Joining me is Kimberly Tyner, CEO and Chief Creative Officer for Spire Agency. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Spire is Mauser's partner for our Empowering Innovation Together program, which spotlights emerging technologies for the electronics industry. At Mauser, we sell electronic components to design engineers and purchasers who focus in the prototype phase. We like to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to tech. That also applies to marketing. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of those marketing campaigns. We did an entire video series built using AI with Spire, and we're going to talk about it. The good, the bad, and a little bit of the ugly.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the campaign that your team built in-house before you even came to us.
So it's called Buyer Support, and it targets the purchasing community. And what we have is 3 different scenarios. And it looks at really all of the hardships that face the purchasing community every day. Product shortages, tight timelines, authentication of components. And it really positions Mauser as we're there to help because we're an authorized distributor. And when you order with us, you can order with confidence. And also, we'll get your parts to you when you need them.
And also you have the largest supply of parts.
We have the widest selection of parts in stock. So we have what you need when you need it.
What you were trying to capture was all of the weights that those procurement buyers face every single day. And especially we've all experienced that with supply shortages, especially chip shortages that we've experienced in all of that environment. There's a lot that they have to balance in that process. And how do we showcase that in a way that speaks to Mauser understanding that audience really well and being there to support them throughout their whole journey?
Yes.
Let's show them the ads that you guys built.
Each of these ads shows a procurement professional in a precarious environment where they're being weighed down by the hardships that they face. They're either carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, they're in a storm, and Mauser will help them weather the storm. They're walking a tightrope, and Mauser is helping them steady. Really, the message is we support you. We will help you weather that storm.
And then you came to us and said, okay, we would like to do a video series to complement these ads. And that's where we started. What made you decide to add a video series?
What's really important for us when we're creating ad campaigns, if we're going to do video, we want to make sure that there's continuity. So we'll usually start off with the creative campaign, and it's important, again, that there's continuity. It doesn't have to be cookie cutter. It doesn't have to be an exact match, but it does have to clearly illustrate that these 2 things go together.
Right.
So whether you find us through the video or whether you find us through the digital ad, if you happen to see each of them, you can make that connection that, oh, this goes with this. This is related to this. And it just reinforces that messaging.
It was really fun to take their vision and try and turn it into something that worked cohesively with the campaign. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, hey. Thank you, because the result, which we'll show in just a minute, turned out great. Let's take a look.
Procurement is a challenging job. It's a balancing act. Tight timelines, unpredictable delays, component shortages. Mauser is the partner that steadies your footing with authorized components, flexible quantities, and tools that keep you balanced. We're your shield in the storm with dependable delivery, real-time inventory, and support that keeps you protected. And when the burden is too heavy, Mauser helps you carry the weight. We are a franchise distributor that helps ease the pressure. Mauser is right there with you to keep the path ahead clear, to help you source smarter, stay in control, and keep your business moving. Mauser, your partner in procurement.
All right, so it took a lot to get there, but I think we landed on the story and the message that we were trying to deliver, which was really exciting.
Well, I will first of all tell you, we loved the way they came out. And we were so thrilled with each one of them. And I know we will dissect them in a minute, but the end result was fabulous. There were challenges with it. It couldn't do everything we wanted it to do. And even, sort of making compromises as we were going along with the limitations of AI in its current state were just sort of interesting. I know we had some trouble with hairstyle.
For sure.
We had trouble with human beings. We had trouble with shoes. Yeah, a hint to the world: AI does not like shoes.
Well, and especially a shiny buckle
Nope.
doesn't know how to handle some of those things. So we did have to change some of those elements along the way. And your team was amazing in being open to, hey, we can't make this work. So for example, on the umbrella, where our goal originally was just have the rain come down, and it was going to be too fast. You weren't going to be able to read the words in the rain. So we thought, well, we'll put it on the umbrella, all of the weight of them, and then it will have it melt off of the umbrella like Mauser's washing away all of your pain points, which was kind of the goal. And we could do that if we did traditional animation, right? But the AI just couldn't do it, right? I mean, there's some ridiculous scenarios where the umbrella breaks in half and water's gushing everywhere, where it oozes off and it's crazy, or where it literally just does nothing. So this is a good example where our hero looks great. Her outfit looks great. We pulled that off perfectly. But if you look at the people in the background, they're just slushing and slushing water everywhere, dragging their feet through the water, and it's crazy. In this case, you actually have a person walking through another person. I think that's one of the interesting pieces too. You can put a prompt in and it just doesn't take it. So for example, on the tightrope, there were times where we put in a prompt over and over where, woman walks forward, real basic. She didn't walk. I mean, we probably did that 40 times. She just would not walk, or she'd bounce, or she'd look down, or she'd look uneven, or she'd just stand there. And so there were lots of times where it's very basic language. It's not like we put in something crazy. And I think there were some other things. One phrase that we used, I believe, was something about where we wanted the rock to lift off so that the weight was lifting off of him and all of his troubles were going away. And so I think at one point we put in a phrase, something about like, it lost gravity, or it was lost weight, or rises in the air. We tried all those things, and sometimes it would just fall to the ground. So if you put weightless in and it's like, oh, it's weightless, and it goes straight to the ground, it runs through the guy and chops his arm off. So, I mean, just some of it was ridiculous and funny, and also you might go through 30 rounds of something. So I think one of the key things is know when to pivot. There have to be moments where you say, okay, we've tried this. This is not going to work. The AI doesn't read it. And we just have to change the storyboard and go back to the storyboard to make sure we're being true to the message and the story that we're trying to tell, but tell it in a different way. And I think that's critical.
And I know on our side, we sort of were aware of that. There's that, I think you really have to have that awareness of how long, how much we could probably get from point A to point B, or, from point A to A and a half. But it'll take more time. It'll, perhaps, mean additional money. And we might not get, much further.
I should say, before we started any of it, Jason and I worked very hard to look at all of the legal parameters to make sure, do they own the product? Is it, what are they going to do with it? Do they learn on our own design? We wanted to make sure that we're in a protected environment that respected the rights, and that our proprietary work would be our proprietary work, and they would not maintain it or own it. So that was kind of a baseline, and that eliminated a lot of programs where they were automatically going to learn on it, they got to own it, all of those things. So that cut out a decent chunk of the 9 options we looked at. And really, Firefly, we thought, well, that makes the most sense to start in Firefly because it's an Adobe product. And in general, Adobe kind of owns the space. However, they had not figured out their credit system at all. We bought the maximum amount of credits we could buy for a month, and we blew through them in like 4 hours. So that wasn't going to work. We looked at VO3 and we tried that. Theirs is really expensive because you had to pay for every 3-second generation that you were doing. And we knew that we would generate 3 seconds 100 times to get, or 5 seconds 100 times to get 3 seconds right. Ultimately, we played with Runway, we played with Envato, we played with VO3, we played with a plethora of options. We didn't really expect Envato to do anything because traditionally that was a mock-up, hey, I need a photo that's got our website on a laptop, and we would use it as a standard. But they've come a long way for image generation, and they've come a long way for video generation, and they're starting to kind of take over a bigger market share. So what we did was put the same prompt with the same image or image series into all 3 or 4 programs at one time and just run them and see what we get. And maybe VO3 was really beautiful, but it wasn't very crisp. And maybe Envato did something a little bit weird, or it might be perfect. It would do some weird pixelization on the background sometimes, but sometimes it would have the best animation. Runway was probably the most reliable and most stable platform. So we actually used Runway the most. And Runway also gave us the opportunity to do unlimited generations in high res, because what you don't want to do is do a whole lot of work in a low res. We didn't do anything in low res. We did everything in 1080p because we didn't want to generate something great and then have to try and regenerate it. So that was a challenge. A lot of those programs are like, oh, you can do unlimited, but it's all low res. That doesn't work on the professional side. So, I mean, what I'll say is you can kind of create some really cool stuff, but it is truly trial and error. And it is a iterative process. And I think a lot of people think, oh, you'll just put it in and you'll save all this time. It is not a quick process necessarily. It's a very laborious process. And it's very creative.
People who don't have who are not in using AI tools of any sort, video was, what we're focused on today, really sort of think of AI as the sort of Mickey Mouse Fantasia thing where it's I will just wave the wand and, AI, make me a video, and you will walk away and, eat a ham sandwich, and you will come back and your video will be ready. And
That's not reality.
that is not reality. And that is not going to be reality for quite some time. You do need the humans, and it is so much work. And we actually were aware that it would be work. So
Yeah. Well, I think to that point, you have to be very, very skilled in multiple programs. You really can't come into this as an amateur and just make anything that's commercially viable. And I think that's what a lot of companies are going to discover when they're like, oh, well, just have an intern build our video. It's going to be a little bit of a mess because you have to have a mastery of Photoshop. You really need to understand Illustrator. You need to understand Premiere. You need to understand After Effects. And all of that, and then you're going to try multiple video composite programs, and you're putting all of those things together. So it's not really something, as much as it's promoted like, oh, click these 3 buttons and voila, your video is going to come. Well, you're not going to get something commercially viable that we would consider quality to put out.
for us, it's what type of video is appropriate for a given campaign. For this campaign, again, we really thought, and now is a great time to see what AI can do.
Well, and it's perfect for your brand. I mean, everything that you're doing is about being on the forefront of technology. I think that's the other piece. We have to be it has to be appropriate for the brand. If we were doing something about children with cancer and we were doing a video, we would shoot that raw, live. It would only be a video of those people. You would never make that up, right? I mean, you have to be very authentic to that. But for you guys, we're talking about flying cars. And a lot of times we're having to create things that don't exist. So, you do really cool stuff talking about what semiconductors can do and where engineers are taking the future of technology. So it couldn't be any more appropriate for your brand to be working with that. And honestly, it's become a really incredible tool for us with you on those other areas that we're working on, because you are always driving the future of technology and highlighting where the technology takes you, because that's what your audience cares about. So a lot of people are afraid of AI and feel like they're going to be replaced. I'd love to hear your thoughts and how your company approaches that.
Generally, people were super excited to see what it could do, and I think, for me, it's interesting because I think, there is that question of, well, are the bots gonna take over the world? And at least in our experience, I don't think it will. I mean, I think, we clearly know that these videos could not make themselves. You you will succeed if you become a good master of prompting and strategically thinking about how to create a good prompt, which is, I'm sure, what your team learned in creating these videos is how to craft the best prompt and how to manage the direction of
For
the
sure.
AI tool. And I was like, that's a really good way to think about it.
But that's interesting because, we started, a year and a half ago or whatever on Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT, a prompt that we would put in to do, for example, customer research. Let's say we're gonna take our client and we're gonna look at all their competitors. We might build a 50-line prompt, right? There may be a series of priming that goes on with layers of prompts to get the right information so that it can actually pull all this data and make us more efficient. And it's incredible what it can do. But this in the video side, you can put a prompt in that's way too complex and it doesn't know what to do with it. So in a lot of ways, it's completely relearning how to build prompts, because a one sentence prompt might be easier than a 5-sentence prompt, and it may respond better. And actually that was different in each platform as well. So we would try the same prompt in each platform, but also you learn different platforms respond better to simpler or more complex prompts. And since we're going to work in all of them, because we have to, because they're all changing every week. So what is the biggest lesson that you and your team have learned in this process?
AI is not perfect, and it is not the answer to everything. It's work, but it does do great things. As I think about in this video in particular, um, I don't think we could have done a video without AI on this particular campaign. The cost, the time, the resources, so live action is out. So then that leaves us with, stock footage. Well, we're not going to get stock footage for that. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So then, okay, then it's animation. So then it's, okay. And then again, that goes to time and resources and cost. Is it an option we'll use for everything? Probably not.
Sure.
Because we still, for us, there's still a place for all the other types of video. What are some of the lessons that your team has?
Yeah. I think the biggest one is that AI is evolving. So it'll be really interesting because there's a race, right? One week, Firefly is crushing it. The next week, Runway is doing a better job. Then Envato comes from behind and does something that none of them could do. I mean, I think it's really interesting how the race is happening because they're all evolving at the same time. So you really don't know from day to day what new thing they're adding. it's just going to be a powerhouse moving forward. The purchasing system for how you buy the ability to work on these it's a giant hairball. They all do it a little differently. You're paying a different rate for different links and different quality of video. It's kind of a mess, and I hope that in the long run, that gets easier.
Let's sort of talk about the future.
I hope in the future we'll have longer, more stable video generation. And then it's really going to be a true production partner. But it's exciting where it's headed right now. And ultimately, the brand fidelity, the pacing, the emotion, all those things have to be human led. I also think one of the things that's important is you don't have to have a team of 10 people or 7 people to do a video like this. You can actually take an extremely skilled team of 1 to 3 people and build a video like this. So I think that there's a lot of benefit there. And you can kind of do it from anywhere. We don't need to have a studio and all of those components. So there's a lot of savings there. It's 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 just a phenomenal tool to add to our toolbox. And that's what it is. It's just one more tool.
I appreciate you sharing what you've learned. We have learned a lot in this process. And bottom line is I hope that other marketers are a little less afraid to dive into AI. If other marketers, get just sort of one thing out of this, I hope that they are ready to, dive in. AI is not going anywhere. And it will only get better. So, take that leap and try it for yourself, see what it can do for you. You will only keep getting better. You will only keep learning. And the end result is really something amazing.
Yeah, and I would even say that probably people who are watching this video, it can do so much more now than it did right at this minute when we're recording this. So it changes every single day.
Yeah.
So thank
Right.
you again.
Thank you.